goalposts on people who are halfway through an application for ILR. So I know we can point around the room at who's at fault of this, but let's not forget a government is considering moving the goalposts for people who are now going to sit for further months with uncertainty. So let's focus on who's being challenged here in this room today, please. Can we remember that, please, Minister?
Grateful for the honourable gentleman and his harking back to the 2010 to 2015 period there. It felt truly like we were back in other times, but I'll address his points as I go along. My intention, Mr Pritchard, is to set out our stalls of government to address the points that colleagues have raised, though I think they're in some clear themes that hopefully, I certainly should be able to do in the time available to us. And as we set out in the white paper, we recognise strongly and value strongly the contribution that legal migration makes to our country. And that if people want to come to Britain to start a new life, but they can do so, but they must contribute, must learn our language and must seek to integrate. And similarly, if employers want to bring workers from overseas, then they must also invest in the skills of workers already in Britain. And as we've heard, the previous government lost control not just of the number of people arriving, but of the entire system, with serious consequences for public confidence, which plays out, I have absolute certainty, in all of our mailbags on an every day, but also has impacts on the working of our economy, on public services, on the housing market and on community cohesion. And we are here today and we're debating this today because net migration quadrupled in the space of just 4 years to a record high. Overseas recruitment shot up while the training in the UK was cut. Lower skilled migration soared while the proportion of UK residents in work plummeted. And hundreds of thousands of people were given visas to arrive and stay in the UK, but without the requirements for them to speak or learn English so they could get the best of their time here. We know, and we hear from our constituents, that migration needs to be managed so that we support families, communities, and create cohesion with proper support, as I say, for integration, for people to seek that better life. But there has to be clear rules about contributing to the UK. Where the pace of migration is too fast or where integration is too weak, it makes it harder to maintain that confidence, those community bonds, and those relationships. And fundamentally, people must see the rules clear, being clearly expressed, clearly respected and properly enforced. And for the system to be credible, those decisions must be fair, and misuse and exploitation, as we've heard from many colleagues about the risk, must be tackled fast. And along the way, preventing illegal migration, overstaying, exploitation and undercutting. It is our position as a government that the immigration system must be properly controlled and managed. I will in a second. To my honourable friend, but I just want to say I appreciate the strength of feeling that colleagues have expressed today. I would caution them from not defending a status quo that doesn't work, and to be in that spirit of how we might improve that status quo. I'll happily give way to my honourable friend.
I'm very grateful to the Minister for giving way. On the reasonable point about English language, the bar has been raised and he's set that out. Is he content that there are sufficient resources devoted to the teaching of English language? Because that will be a charge that's put to us if it is that we make that demand and don't put the resources to match that demand.
I think that's an excellent point my honourable friend mentions. I mean, I'm going to turn to the BNO status shortly, but I think of the work that goes on in my community around English language there, similarly around those who've come from Ukraine in the last few years, and that has been transformative for those people. And as we go along and as we make the proposals in the white paper law, of course we'll be considering those very important accompanying conversations as well. Now, it is a long-standing point of consensus across this place that settlement has been a privilege and not a right. We know that settlement in the UK brings significant benefits. So the proposals that we've set out in the Immigration White Paper reflect our view that people who benefit from settling in the UK should first make a proportionate contribution. And we've heard so much about those valuable contributions that honourable members' constituents are making. And that is why, that although we're setting a baseline qualifying period for settlement at 10 years, we will allow those who make meaningful contributions to reduce that qualifying period, something the honourable member for Edinburgh East and Musselburgh referenced. Now, turning to skilled work, the subject of the first petition, Skilled worker visa holders make an important contribution to our economy and to our public services, filling essential skills and labour market gaps. But for too long, sectors have become reliant on them to fill those gaps and have not sought to invest in our domestic workforce. The reforms we've set out in the Immigration White Paper are addressing the balance and reversing the long-term trends of overseas recruitment, increasing at the same time as reducing investment in skills and training and increasing levels of unemployment and economic activity in the UK, which I know we're all concerned about in our own communities. Indeed, we implemented the first of those reforms in late July, lifting the threshold for skilled workers to the RQF6 level, and we've commissioned a Migration Advisory Committee to advise on future changes to salary requirements and the temporary shortage list. And we've established, Mr Pritchard, a new labour market evidence group, which also met at the end of July and will continue to meet quarterly in order to support our aim to tackle the underlying causes of workforce shortages and ensure that growth-driving sectors have access to the skilled workers they need now and into the future. We must have, and I speak obviously as someone who a couple of days ago was the local growth minister, have that same vigour for our children in our schools today, that they're going to get brilliant opportunities and the training they need there first. Now, colleagues have talked considerably and with great passion about the Hong Kong British National Overseas Visa route. And I want to take a moment to reflect on what the BNO route means, not just for those who've made use of it, but for this country more generally. Our country has a long-standing and unique connection to the people of Hong Kong. As a former British territory, many Hong Kongers hold BNO status, a recognition of that shared history, as my honourable colleague from Milton Keynes Central said earlier. And I commend the previous government. I was supportive of it in this place, of their launching of the BNO route in January 2021 as a direct response to the imposition of the national security law in Hong Kong. And through this, the UK honoured its historic and moral commitment to the people of Hong Kong by creating a bespoke immigration route for those seeking safety, stability and a future rooted in those shared values. And since its launch, close to 225,000 people have been granted a BNO visa and over 160,000 have arrived in the UK. And like many other migrants across the immigration system, Hong Kongers have quickly become an integral part of both our economy and local communities, with high levels of employment, education participation and community engagement, and have made their homes in key cities and regions across the UK. I think in Nottingham, the extraordinary contribution Hong Kongers make, whether it's in our public services, whether it's in the private sector or the community and voluntary sector. I think my honourable friend, a member for Rushcliffe, who takes such a great interest in this area, a year or so ago when we met with representative organisations, of the extraordinary contribution they're making. I will stop short of saying whether I consider them to be from Nottingham now, because that, due to local government reorganisation, is a very sticky point, as it is also for my honourable friend at Broxtowe, and indeed possibly my honourable friend from Erewash mentions Long Eaton, and I'm not even going to go anywhere near that. But those people, their presence is not just valued, but they are making a huge and positive and lasting contribution to our national life. And we recognise as a government the significance of this community, not just for what's gone so far, but for the role they will play in the years ahead. So I want to assure members that this government remains steadfast in supporting members of the Hong Kong community in the UK and all those who will arrive in the future, and we remain fully committed to the BNO route, which will continue to welcome Hong Kongers. But I do know how important the ability to obtain settled status is to the Hong Kong community, and that is why I can assure them we are listening to their views about the route to settlement and will continue to do so. And in the meantime, of course, I will shortly, but in the meantime, the current routes for settlement under the BNO route will continue to apply. I'll happily give way.
Can I merely tempt him, given how profoundly he's setting out the importance of the Hong Kong community in the UK, to take this opportunity not only to recommit to supporting the Hong Kongers with the current route, but in fact use this as an opportunity to fix some of the things in the BNO visa route that have made it not quite as bespoke as it was originally intended through this process. Will he look at that as he looks at the overall immigration system?
Well, the honourable gentleman very kindly seeks to tempt me off topic slightly here, but he's made an excellent point, and I have heard it. But I do want to go back to the fundamental point around consultation. It is only right, we've heard from colleagues of the importance that this is to people all over the country. It is only right that those who may be affected by these proposals have a fair and equal opportunity to make their voices heard. That's precisely why we're moving forward with a consultation, to ensure that any decision taken is rooted in evidence, with fairness, and has a clear understanding of the real world impact on those effects. I'll give way in a second, and I hope that members will accept in that sense that I won't prejudge the outcome of that consultation before it's taken place. I'll give way to my honourable friend from Rushcliffe.
Thank him for giving way and for his speech. Firstly, I'll just note that the clock is ticking, and I'd like him to recognise that, so it is really important that consultation is done quickly. But with that in mind, does he know at this stage whether different groups will be carved out within that consultation, for example, the B&O scheme, so there will be separate opportunity to comment on that and other routes?
Well, we'll be very much opening the consultation up for everybody to make the important points about how the system relates to them. So, the opposition spokesperson asked for that clarity. I can give that clarity too. Everybody will get that important opportunity to say how the proposals would affect them. I mean, that takes me to some of the things that colleagues have said. So, I will give way go on, before I move on.
Thank you, Minister. I appreciate you giving way. Just on the point of consultation, clearly, if there is to be a consultation, it's a further few months of uncertainty for many people on this scheme. Do you have an ambition for when the consultation will be... Does the Minister have ambition for when the consultation will be concluded and we will hear the results of that consultation time frame?
I can't give the honourable gentleman that time frame today, but I appreciate the point he's made about how people will feel and the time pressures people feel. I accept that point. I'll give way very quickly.
Thank you very much, the Minister, for giving way. Given the unanimity of the feeling around the room today about the importance of the B&O visas and the uncertainty that the consultation is creating, could the Minister just put on record that he recognises that uncertainty and it will be foremost in his mind as he develops policy going forward?
I absolutely do. There's a danger when we talk about a system, and this is a system, that we forget the fact that these are individual people with lives, hopes and dreams at the root of it. And of course, we'd always want to treat those people with the utmost dignity and yes, to make sure there isn't any more uncertainty than is necessary. But the point of consulting, I've been in this place now, this is my 8th year, and I watched 7 years of immigration policies jump and just fall out of the sky, many times chasing headlines rather than trying to change the system. And the question everybody asked was, why on earth didn't you consult on this? So, there is good reason for engaging with people properly. My honourable friends from Poplar and Limehouse, Richmond Park, Truro and Falmouth, Salford, Clapham and Brixton Hill all talked about what the scope of the change is, who will be affected. That's the point of having that consultation, because we appreciate that people's circumstances can be very different. That's why we want people to come forwards with how the proposals might affect them. Similarly, my honourable friend in his opening from South Norfolk, but as well my colleagues from Stratford and Bow, Bracknell Forest, Chelsea and Fulham, Ashford, Poole, all talked about transition in general. And again, we appreciate that the strength of feeling that's been expressed there, and feedback on this point is very helpful. We've had some since the publication of the white paper as well, and that's helping us frame the consultation before we finalise any policy following that. And again, I've heard strongly honourable colleagues from Hendon, South Cambridgeshire, Uxbridge and South Ruislip, Carshalton and Wallington, Rushcliffe, Milton Keynes North, Birmingham Northfield, Warrington South, I've lost my writing here, Bolton South and Walkden, Bolton West, Chesterfield, Erewash, about particularly their strength of feeling with regard to Hong Kongers and our profound connection, which I hope they see that I share, as well as their proud connection. Also, my honourable friend and member for Leeds South West and Morley made that point. And then just before I finish, to reference my honourable friend from Middlesbrough and Thornaby East and the racism that his constituents have endured in their service in the NHS, that's totally unacceptable. And I would like to add my solidarity to his, and that is coming from the TUC. And then just to address a couple of final questions before handing back to my honourable friend with enough time for him to sum up. He talked about diplomatic consequences, and I want to give him the assurance that we have engaged with FCDO on this issue, and we recognise the diplomatic interests around the B&O route, and will be continuing to consider those impacts carefully. Around impact assessments that he and the member for Monmouthshire and Glenadere expressed, and again, it is right that colleagues see impact assessments after we have finalised proposals, but the point of the consultation is that we don't yet know that final stage. That's why we're having those conversations, and of course impact assessments will be carried out at the right moment. And then finally, my honourable friend from Ealing Central and Acton and the honourable member for Edinburgh South West raised study, and international students are crucial to the UK, to the city of Nottingham, to our universities and our economy, and they allow us to have that world-class connection to our higher education sector and are an important pillar of growth. But it is essential that opportunities to study in the UK are given to individuals who are genuinely here to do just that, and that the universities who sponsor those individuals to study here are treating that responsibility with the seriousness it deserves. That's crucial to public confidence. So to finish, again, I congratulate the honourable gentleman and colleagues for what's been a brilliant debate. There's a lot of interest for good reason. There's a lot more work to do going forward for good reason, but I hope that those watching have seen that we do want to get this right. We are going to be moving forward with a consultation. I look forward to engaging along the way in that process.
Ben Goldsworth to wind up.
Thank you, Mr. Pritchard. And I think today's debate is a perfect example of what the E-petitions committee is very good at doing. It's being able to bring these topics to the forefront of a brand new minister. So at the top of his box now is talks about these two E-petitions. I think also there is a huge amount of thanks I need to give to not only to the petitions committee themselves for all the hard work and effort that went into setting up this process, but also to the stamina of our guests who are in the gallery for staying for the full 3-hour debate. I hope that those watching at home can realise this is the best of Parliament, where we speak with more light than heat, and where we look at the instruments in front of us and we take them issue by issue, and we don't decide to turn them into a mudslinging match, but in terms of actually looking at these projects in how we can better our country going forward.
The question is that this House has considered E-petitions 727360 and 727356 relating to the qualifying period for indefinite leave to remain. As many of that opinion say aye. Aye. On the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order, order. The sitting stands adjourned. Have a good evening and enjoy the votes.
Very well, Chair. Thank you very much.